Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thrive, Not Just Survive. I am your host, Nasira Jamal, and I am so grateful that you are all here. I've been getting some amazing private messages and comments of how much you guys are enjoying the content that's being shared here. And my goal is to really inspire those that are watching. With all of the people that I'm bringing on, you'll see the common thread is being women entrepreneurs who are having an impact on their families, their communities, and globally at large. I feel that there is a mission that as women, when we come together, we can create a powerful change, a powerful message, and we can encourage and empower each other so that we can create a world that we really are proud of. So today's guest is Rachel Weaver, and I have her on the show because she is doing some amazing things, and I want to bring her on because I want to start this conversation about how to empower our children, and also talk to her about another program that she also runs, and that's for women specifically. So let's bring her on and get this conversation started. Hi, Rachel. I'm so grateful that you have accepted my invitation to join me here today. So I want to thank you, first of all, for doing that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
So, before we really get into the meat of things, of what you do, can you give us sort of a background of your story of how you got to where you got to with your life and why you're doing the things you're doing?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom of two kids and a wife, and my journey is we have moved actually all over the world, and we've had a lot of experience with the way different cultures run, and I just grew a great passion to help develop our children on another level. You see, through the last several years, seeing challenges in my own son, I understood and realized that mental health and emotional health, emotional resilience in children is critical to be taught at an elementary age. And so I dedicated the next several years of my life to studying the psychology behind the reasons for helping our children become their most resilient, emotionally and mentally healthy. In my opinion, it's just as critical to teach them math and grammar as it is their mental and emotional health.
It's sort of taking that whole child into perspective, right? Not just the academic side, because clearly, yes, that would help them in their life, but the stuff that you're talking about, like the emotional intelligence and their being, their actual being, is so critical in terms of how they show up in the world.
Absolutely. It most certainly is. And children are easy, right? So we can teach them simple steps at an elementary age to start taking, and this just becomes a commonality amongst their day. And so then they begin to learn how to thrive. So when challenges come up with other children, with teachers, with parents, they know how to respond with their best self. And we also teach them how to become more emotionally resilient to where they're not internalizing all of the things happening. Like right now, we are experiencing serious hardship amongst children because we live in a society where we have kids go, 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 from school to homework to sports to activities, and we don't stop. And we suddenly came to a halting stop. And now we're seeing more kids than ever starting to suffer depression, having suicidal thoughts, and things like this. And so I think that it has opened up the eyes of some very important people to see, like, we need to reevaluate the way we are going about raising our kids and teaching our children.
The long-term effects of this kind of trauma, right? Like, because there's so much going on. There's socially so much going on. There's a lot of things that have been disrupted with COVID-19, and it's brought to light some of the challenges that were perhaps dormant. A lot of parents perhaps didn't get to see the things that their children were internalizing, like you said, based on the speed of how we were going, work and school and activities and sports and basically a go life. Really, I think masks some of those challenges for children where they're not even able to articulate why they're feeling what they're feeling.
Absolutely. I have spoken to so many parents that have said to me, I didn't even realize that I don't know who my kid is. I don't know, like, their heart, what's inside of them. We're so busy. And I think as challenging as this time has been, it's also been a great time for families to reel back in and really spend time with each other again.
And I think that's another thing, right? Like I've talked about this on my show right from the get-go, that there is a silver lining to this whole reset that we've had globally, where everything literally stopped. I think that we needed a reset on many levels. And one of the main things that's come out of it is the time we're spending with our families, to getting to know them, each of us, like as a parent, as a mom, as a sister, like all of those relationships actually were, I think, now being honored. And, you kind of figure out your children better, right? As you spend time with them and talk to them rather than all of this screen time, there's more opportunities to have real relationship building things, right? So you, before I know that there's another program, I really want to talk about that as well, because I think that's really imminent, that we need to address some of these things, because again, those are dormant things that perhaps are happening just to everybody, right? Especially women. But let me just talk about the children aspect. In terms of kids coming now into the summer months, parents are home, different routines are being made up. Can you give maybe a tip or a strategy to a parent to say, while these summer months are happening, what can they do to really tap into that child's inner superpower, as you call it, their superpower?
Yes. Well, I think especially for those kids who you see and that they're struggling emotionally, a lot of kids are feeling really down or sad because they haven't been able to spend time with their friends, and they're experiencing sadness or mourning of the way their life used to be. And so I think that it all starts with, I know a lot of psychologists will tell you, or gurus out there will tell you, that you need to practice daily motivation with them, or positive reinforcement. But here's the thing: if we cannot get our children to believe these things that we're telling them, then it's not going to do any good for us. So I think that we really need to start. The way I like to teach children to start is every morning having a notebook beside them and really writing out every day 5 things that they're grateful for, to put them in the mindset to start accepting these positive affirmations or daily motivations that we have for them.
That's a really important, like, I just want to say, right? Like, it's a routine, but it's also a practice.
Absolutely.
That really has to be implemented daily for it to actually have an effect.
Absolutely. And really sit down and talk to your kids and say, okay, I want you to tell me, what are the good things you see in you? What are the good things, the good qualities that you believe about yourself? And let them tell you what they think. And write those down and remind your kids that that is who they are. All of these other things that they're feeling, those are learned behaviors. The sadness, the insecurities that they're having, the low self-esteem, all of those things, those are all learned behaviors. And the person that they are inside, that's kind of their superpower. They can crush those negative feelings. So But we first have to put them in the mindset to believe that these positive superpowers, those are who I am as a person. In order for them to accept the positive affirmations, they have to truly believe that's who I am. And so I like to, the children that I work with and coach, I like to call it their superpower animal or their weak animal. And their weak animal is all those negative feelings. And so each morning I have the child write down 5 things that they're grateful for each morning, whatever that can be. And for some kids, it's going to be their stuffed animal. And other kids, it's going to be that mom said I can have 20 minutes of screen time today, whatever the case is for that child. And then underneath of that, 5 things that they're super powerful animal, who they are, 5 things about that child that morning that they're feeling, or maybe 5 things that they're excited that superpower inside of them is going to accomplish for the day. And it really helps set them up in a positive way each and every day.
And I think it's really important the way you say that, like, how what they think they are, like, about themselves, because really that is something that's so aligned with their soul, right? So if they say that I feel like I am very, I have humor, or I'm a funny child, or, whatever that is, like, I think that really taps into something deeper in terms of who they are, because that is a different voice than the outside voice, which would be saying some of the negative things, or what they've heard. If somebody says to them at school that, oh, they were dumb, or they did that and they failed at something, right? Those are external things, but what they truly believe to be true about who they are. And if they tap into it every day, we're just reinforcing that positive belief pattern in them.
Absolutely. And it's astounding the difference it can make in the child, because they're going to start to think about as their day goes on and certain things come up or things happen. Like, am I acting as who I truly am, or am I acting by this weak learned behavior pattern of my weak animal?
And how would you say in terms of age? Would you say like a 4-year-old, we can, parents with a younger children?
I think you can start as young as 4. Yes. I think the earlier you start, the easier it becomes for them, because, when you think about it, everything we do in life is learned behaviors. And so when we can set them up as young as possible, they can take this into school with them. They can take this into their learning with them to set them up for success. Study after study proves that the healthier mentally and emotionally the child is, the easier academics come for them.
Right.
So absolutely, I don't think there's an early enough age we can.
Right. So even as young, when you're talking to a 2-year-old, though they may not be writing in their book, but if you are doing it and writing it, perhaps either for them or talking about it, it's setting them up in terms of the mental space, and then as they do get older and start writing, they know that was something that they've been exposed to if the parent was doing it right from the get-go. So I think these are really, like, this is amazing, because as we get to this place where we are now, sort of in that chaotic place of where the globe is, I think these strengths can really change how our kids are going to show up as they grow up when challenging times come. Hopefully never a pandemic, but we're training them for a better mindset, for a better emotional set of themselves, so that they can deal with it better. So I think this is brilliant. I think what you're doing is powerful, and I believe it's needed. I mean, globally, we need this, because our children are our future. And so I thank you for that. Now, there's another program that you're doing, which really, I think that really sparked me in my heart to say, this is a message that's really important for people to hear in terms of what you're doing and how you're tapping into helping women.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I've developed a program to help women reach their full potential by showing them how to almost quiet the voices of society and release the thoughts, release themselves of judgment of others, so that they can embrace their outer beauty and can grow into their inner power that they have inside of us, because there's so much greatness inside of each and every one of us. And I see so often, just like the children, right, where we allow the outside external negative voices get inside of our head. And I think that as women in particular, we often struggle with other women. And so I've just seen it so often. And even through my own life, the struggles that have come upon me with other women in the workforce, in the universities, just all throughout my life. And even as a mom. So I have really dedicated this program to helping moms become a better version of themselves by finding who they are internally, so that they can show up better, not only for themselves, but for their families as well.
That's a really important thing, because I think as women, there is a bit of like that comparison, competitiveness, and then, you know, all of life experiences where perhaps one's self-esteem and things were not developed. And so as you get into life and you have more challenges, and then you become a mom, and then there's more different challenges, and you're a wife. And so I think when you don't have that core foundation set up with positive mindset of oneself, like of how you see yourself. That's why you're saying, you know, start the kids young, let them see their beauty, their strengths, their powers early on. And I think for those of us who are sort of at the, you know, older side now with being moms and women and business owners, sometimes it's that foundational piece that is missing. And so when things don't work out, or they kind of crumble as we're working them out, we need to find that, how to tap into that foundational stuff and fix it, right? And I think your program, because it's really allowing people to go inward and allowing women to find their voice,
absolutely,
who they are, truly can bring them success in different areas of life, not just business. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And just taking it back a step to setting the kids up with this emotional resilience or emotional nutrition, if you will. How I discovered the idea of coming up with a program for women is through my children's program, and talking to the moms and seeing how much they really needed this. And that's really how this became birthed, because of talking so much with the moms and hearing their stories and their own personal struggles while they're sharing about their children, hearing how they were feeling. And I just saw, like, wow, they just need this as much as the children do. Because imagine how much further in life each of us could be if we could find our true inner authentic self and not be afraid to be that person. How much more love there would be in the world amongst us if we could release ourselves of that judgment and worry of what other people are thinking.
I think that's probably one of the things that holds most people back, is what are other people thinking, or what will the judgment be? And if we can release that, then we are actually free, right? Like that whole, the shackles get removed and you're free to be who you are, and you're not so worried that what the other person might say, because you're really just true to yourself, right? And I think that's what the world needs right now, is a lot more love, you know, for a lot of all of this stuff that we're dealing with. And it's hard on the heart, you know, to be watching, right, the suffering. And so I think if we can illuminate women, especially women, in terms of their true light, then the love can expand. And I know you and I have the same kind of thought process in terms of being positive and bringing that into the world by first showing up like that. You know, it's one thing to preach it or say these things, but we must live it, and we must have that in our own life in order for us to carry that forward. So, I'm so blessed to have met you. Like, as we network with, and I think that's another thing COVID's brought, is we were able to network with like-minded people more so from across the globe. I mean, you and I are in different countries,
Right.
so we're still able to connect, and we're still able to say that we have this message, that the underlying message of it all is love. It's real love, and it's about kindness, and how can we show up for our tribes, our families, our community, and globally at large? How can we change this, right? So I am just immensely blessed that you accepted this invitation, because I think for you, handling the children's side and then also helping the moms is as a puzzle that needs to be mixed and brought together. Is there anything that you would say in terms of, as we end the call or our talk, what would you say as parting words for women that are perhaps struggling or questioning who they are?
Yeah. I would say to every woman or mom out there that you absolutely are worth finding who's inside of you. You're worth it. And when you can find that, anything, and I truly mean anything is possible. Because when I finally learned how to release, my entire life transformed. I'm very, very blessed to say that in the last 5 years, now this is not for everybody, but in the last 5 years, I've lived in 3 different countries. And, I'm just so grateful that through my process of being able to learn, I've been able to travel and understand cultures in different ways, because I think we're just, in America and Canada as well, we're such a diversified country. For me, it was really super important to understand all these different cultures. I lived in Asia and Europe. And so I think, it's really important to understand where other people are coming from for me, so that I can develop into the kind of coach or develop the kind of program that's going to help and serve not only women here in America and Canada, but across the world. Because in the end, we're all human. We're all there to spread love. We all start good. And so I just want to encourage every woman to understand that she's worth it. Each and every one of you are worth finding your authentic self, and you can become unstoppable, not just in your professional life, but in your personal life too.
And that's so key. And I think, like you said, globally,
yeah,
there are common threads, no matter what the culture is. I mean, we are all human, and there are challenges that are, I would say, pretty much across the globe, no matter what culture. There is a common fiber.
Absolutely.
That ties, right? And it also, I think those common fibers also relate to those challenges. We have common challenges.
100%.
Right.
I have traveled literally all over the world, starting at a very young age in college, as a matter of fact. And it's so common everywhere. Our challenges start, and they're all the same, no matter where you're at.
Right.
And so once we can learn to become the best version of ourselves and release ourselves of worrying about what other people think, I think we become happier internally, and we can externally give more.
And that's, again, the key, right? And I talk about this of filling our own cups up first before we start giving to others, because you can't really go from a depleted source, right? You can't give from nothing. So I think when you do fill that up and you do feel confident, because you know who you are and you know how much love you have to give, no matter what, whether it's your family, community, whether it's the planet, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think then, as your authentic self, as that self that is really made of only that fiber of love, then and only then can we start changing the world.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and it begins with us. And I think a lot of it, before we end, I think a lot of people feel, well, I'm just one. Like, how can I make a difference? But the thing is, if everybody realizes that themselves, one person can make a difference, then as we come together, there's power in numbers, right? The collective consciousness will change if everybody operates from that frequency of love.
I absolutely agree with that. And it all starts with inside of you. So
right.
one person.
And I think that's the clear message for today, right? It's all inside. Everybody holds the universe within themselves. And I think the idea is to tap into it and know that there's power within. So I want to thank you, Rachel. I love this conversation. This is one of my favorites. So thank you very, very much. I want to just, extend my gratitude towards you and also wish you a lot of success with both of your programs. Please join me again. I would love to hear how things are going after perhaps, when the kids are back in school and whatever. So I would love to invite you back, but I do want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm blessed to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you guys were watching, I hope you saw the light that was illuminating from Rachel, because when you tap into that place of authenticity, you begin to light up differently. You begin to have a different vibration. And I just want for everybody that was watching, or if you're watching this on replay, have this talk with yourself, have a reflective moment, a few moments, take some time to really figure this out. And there are people out there to help you, just like Rachel. So if you want to reach out, I actually didn't put up her Facebook, but you can actually find her on Facebook, reach out to her and ask questions. Start doing that initially so that you can find your tribe of people and women that will support you in your journey. I am so grateful that you all are here, and I will see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Wishing you a blessed and happy Tuesday. Be kind to yourself and to others.